You're live.
Boom! We're
Oh,
live. All
Live.
right. It's like the Brady Bunch, the
Hey,
family
what you
that Ken
doing?
built.
You pop up
Hey,
to
yeah,
everybody.
right.
surprises for me.
Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, coming to you on behalf of SaltwaterAquarium.com, rolling out our live stream today. A little roundtable live stream. Mix some things up for you viewers out there on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching us. Thanks for tuning in. Doing some discussion today with Ken Brown, the owner of SaltwaterAquarium.com, aka the boss, big man on campus. Jimmy Newbie Reefer is here, and Hilary Waterlogged is joining us from the left coast. So we're all here. We're going to take some questions from you. We're going to be doing some talking as well. So if you have questions for us, fire them off in the chat. We'll have time throughout the roundtable today to go back and answer some of those. So that's how today's going to run. We'll see how long we last. No real exact time frame. So if you're just tuning in late, that's fine too. We're going to do our thing. And of course, if you have those questions, put them in the chat and we'll be checking on those. So with that, let me turn it over to the boss. Let's do a little intro for everyone. If you don't know us, we'll do a quick rundown, about 2 minutes each, and give you some background for everyone. You, the boss.
I don't see where it's streaming on. Yeah, it is on YouTube. All right, cool. Got it. So what's going on? Yes, I'm Ken Brown, the owner of SaltwaterAquarium.com. I created this company in 2011 from my basement when I had a full head of hair, and now
No.
it's gone. So yeah, this is the team that I assembled for YouTube. This is Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank, Hilary from Waterlogged, and Jimmy Newbie, 2 Tanks Reefer.
This name is going to stick for Jimmy. Yeah, but Kay Brown, remember, you started this company because you didn't want to get in trouble with your wife. Give us a quick rundown on that.
I didn't want to get in trouble with my wife.
Yeah, you said you were buying Vortex, and you're like, if my wife finds out how much this thing's cost,
Oh
I'm
yeah, so I could not afford a Vortec when I started the company, right? It was like $450. And I was like, how am I going to buy this pump for my tank? I think it's super cool. I want one. And I was like, I had a web design license from some side design stuff I was doing on the side of my job. And I was like, what if I bought 3 pumps, put one on my tank, and just sold the other 2 on eBay to see if anyone wants them? Maybe I could make a couple bucks, get half off my pump. So back then, Ecotech Marine didn't really care who opened a wholesale account. They pretty much give anyone an account back then. So I did it. I bought 3, put 2 on eBay, went to work, didn't realize what was going on. Monday rolls around, I get to work, check my email, and they're like, ship your orders. And I'm like, what do you mean ship? Oh, I put those 2 pumps on Friday. I guess I got to ship them. So I went home from work that day, grabbed those pumps at lunch, went to the post office, dropped them off, went back to work, and I'm sitting in my cubicle being like, that was kind of easy. Was that something I should do? And I was like, well, maybe I'll grab 6 pumps this time. So then on that instance, I grabbed 6 and they sold within a day or 2, and I was hooked. From that point on, I've never taken outside funding from anyone else to buy anything else. Everything that we've done has always been from the profits of selling the product the day before, the year before. So no private equity, no funding, no loans, no nothing. We currently own the building that we're in, at least one of them. And we've been fortunate that our customers like what we've done over the last 15 years. And, we're all here.
I've got a
Man,
question
that's
for
awesome.
you. What was in that original tank?
So I still have some pictures of it. I can show you some pictures. I don't have them on the stream, but it was mostly soft corals, GSP, some toadstools, hippo tang, clownfish, your standard kind of beginner, whatever. It was a 40-gallon oceanic hex, and I actually have the Vortec pump I had. Oh, check this out. That is the original Vortec pump. I don't know if you can see the serial number date on it. It says May 12th, 2011. So this was purchased the month after I reserved the domain name, and I still got that original salt-crusted Vortec pump in my desk.
But does
like
it
that.
still run?
I don't know. I haven't plugged it in.
Let's
And I
do
got
it.
some more love like this. Check this out.
Oh,
You see
look
one
at that
running in a
old thing.
while?
Yeah, AC3 Pro.
Yeah. Aqua Controller 2. So
Oh, 2. Even look at that. 2 Pro.
some super cool stuff from back in the day.
Yeah, that was back when Jimmy was 30.
Oh, hey. Well, that's
I
me.
wish.
What about Mark? What about you? Why are you here?
Ah, oh,
15
pump
years
for an
ago, I
old
was
guy.
40.
Wow.
Nice,
They're beating
Steve.
you up on the chat there, Ken Brown. Myself, I'm Mark Callahan, Mr. Saltwater Tank. I got into the hobby in I think 1989 or 1990. Came downstairs Christmas Day because our parents made us wait on the second story until they were ready, and then we could come downstairs and see what Santa brought us. And turned the corner, and there was a 75-gallon oceanic tank on an oak stand with oak trim on the tank. If you've been around that long and you remember that, drop me a message in the chat because that's awesome. Back when we had fake coral, like literally like old coral skeletons in your tank, and how cool you were was how white they were. So once a month, you took them out and bleached them and then put them back in your tank because you wanted everything to be white or the red barnacles. From there, took some time off from the hobby, various things. High school, got into horses, then college, didn't have any hobbies, just studying. And then got back into saltwater tanks kind of by accident. My wife got me a freshwater tank for her birthday. And I was like, oh, hell no. Do you have the receipt? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, great. We can take it back and make it a saltwater tank. And she was like, what? And that was a 30-gallon, quickly became a 55, then a 90, then a 225, then a 375, then a 450, and now the 987-gallon step down behind me. This tank's
Can you
going to
find
be
the
here a
video on
while.
YouTube, Liz?
And yeah, been part of SaltwaterAquarium.com for what now? Ken, 6 years, 7 years, more than that, a while.
Dude, it's
Uh,
been a little while for sure.
it's been a bit, and it's been a hot minute, and now doing saltwateraquarium.com, still running Mr. Saltwater Tank, building tanks. I was just in Texas, putting in a 800-gallon tank in a house, working on one in Paris, Tennessee as well. So out and about, and through it all, ended up meeting Jimmy through an acquaintance. He was my film guy for a while, and then all of a sudden, Jimmy becomes part of the saltwateraquarium.com family. With that, Jimmy, why don't we hear your story?
Huh. Oh, it's a story, all right. Because I'm from Minnesota, so there's not a lot of ocean in the middle of the country there up north. But we have a lot of lakes, and I really fell in love with the ocean by watching PBS when I was a kid. So I watched Jacques Cousteau, and I was just completely intrigued by it. I was like, I mean, I'm talking little kid. I loved it, loved it. And my family used to vacation to Florida. We came to Disney World all the time, you know, once a year from the time I was about 7 years old. And we'd come down to Florida. My brother moved down here, and he started scuba diving. And that was a really cool thing. And he'd tell me about it. I thought, oh, man, I want to do that. But I never thought I'd have a saltwater tank. It seemed unachievable, too hard to do, too expensive. I was right after I got married. I was 22 years old. My wife went to work for a gentleman that had a large aquarium. I remember being huge in his office, and he had a service that came in and took care of it. And I remember he was the CEO of a rehabilitation company. And I remember him sticking his hand in there and like chasing a pufferfish and making it blow up. Not recommended, but I remember it stuck in my head like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm like, that tank just looked amazing. I'm like, someday I want that. I want a tank like that. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Mark. We mutual friend brought us together. You guys know that we cover a lot of the trade shows here, and that's how I ended up with Mark. He was coming to Orlando, where I live, to cover Reefapalooza here. I think it was probably like 7 or 8 years ago. Man, it was a long time ago. And his guy, Steve, who he used to have do all his camera work with him when he was traveling, was a friend of mine, but he couldn't come. So he's like, hey, my buddy Jimmy lives in Orlando. Give Jimmy a call. So that's how I met Mark. We went and did Reefapalooza together. We hit it off. And we've traveled the world together. We've been everywhere. We've been scuba diving on the Great Barrier Reef out in the Indian Ocean in Mauritius. We looked at some cool coral lab in London. I mean, we've done a lot of cool things. Thanks for that, Mark. It's been quite a journey. But as far as me getting a tank, that just happened once Mark was working with Ken at SaltwaterAquarium.com. And I go up and I'd, you know, hey, Mark would hire me, and then I'd go work for Ken kind of indirectly. And then I was like, this is really cool. I'm like, hey, Mark, what do you think? Can you ask Ken if, you know, maybe I can do something, make some videos or something, and get a tank? And so my first tank, we're like, yeah, let's do a series on it, and I'll teach you how to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. It seems really hard. And so if you haven't seen that series, please. Hobby for like 3 years, and it's going awesome. I love it. And now I have this tank behind me, and this is brand new for me. It's my going to be fish only tank. I've got only 3 fish in there, so if you don't see anything, it's just newly set up, but exciting. This is a Red Sea. It's 82 inches across, which, I mean, how cool is that? It's pretty awesome. It's not like Mark's, but it's pretty big. And I got this because the same thing. Remember that puffer fish that the guy was chasing? I think those fish are so cool looking and so much fun. And I told Mark, hey, I want to get a puffer fish. He's like, oh, don't get a puffer fish. He goes, it's going to wreck your reef tank. They spit at you. And I'm like, well, I guess I need a new tank then. So here it is. But that's the most of my story. The piece that I skipped over is I did work at a public aquarium in the theme parks in education, and I learned all about sea turtles and sharks and stingrays and stuff. And so a boy from Minnesota now lives in Florida and live close to the ocean here in my home. I love it. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Ken. I'm happy to.
You mentioned pufferfish, which every time I hear pufferfish from now on, I'm like, Hilary, instantly, because it's like her first love is pufferfish. It's like she's got us all trumped. She swam in an aquarium and the pufferfish was eating out of her hand. Like I can't say I've done that. So Hilary, give us your background and tell us what's this love with pufferfish that is so deep.
Oh, okay, that's a perfect start. I feel like for me, I've loved being around the water even since I was a little kid. I used to play in like the creeks and the ponds growing up. And when I was in college, I had a tiny little freshwater tank with this little South American pufferfish. And like I fell in love with it. I wasn't that big of a hobbyist at the time, but yeah, just watching that fish and observing it, I learned that fish were really, really smart, that people don't give them enough credit. And it kind of just exploded from 1 tank to 2 to 3. I was living in apartments and I was hauling 5-gallon buckets of water up 3 flights of stairs. Get your RODI makers, do that yourself. Don't haul jugs of water. But at the time I was going to school for marine science, I have a lot of work with oyster restoration and living shorelines. Not quite the same as aquariums, but it deals with a lot of water chemistry and making sure that the water is clean for the animals. So that experience kind of was able to transfer. And when I graduated, I couldn't find a job and I ended up working at a local fish store that turned into working at a couple of different public aquariums. And puffers were always the focus. If you don't know, puffers are very, very smart, intelligent fish. They get bored really easy, so you have to entertain them a lot. And that's basically what I did. I worked at an aquarium, the Silverton in Las Vegas, and we got to get in the tank and we got to scuba dive and take care of the fish. And we had these giant porcupine fish. Diodon hysterex is their scientific name. They're one of the biggest species of puffers. And I had one that would just follow me around the tank, and I had them all trained where you could hold up a sign that said tap here for food, and they just swim up. They knew when they touched their mouths to the sign they would get food, and it was great. It worked out. They didn't harass the divers. They were entertained. They got fed. So that's kind of that story that Mark was referencing. But yeah, I guess that's me in the history of puffers. And yeah.
If
I
you could
love that.
have
That's
a
awesome.
pufferfish out of the water as a pet, Hilary, would you do it?
Absolutely.
Mark, you should get a puffer fish.
No, Jimmy.
Yes.
I have a plan for an alternate tank, and it's not a predator tank. I'm not going into it now, But we do want to hear, Jimmy, is you're like the new kid on the block with the new tank in front of like all of us. My tank's old school now. You've got the new tank, the new thing. Why a Predator tank, and what have you gone through so far setting this up?
This is the new tank. It's something, I think this is part of the original dream, because there's some fish here that are going to go in here to start. But I learned that the tank in Finding Nemo dentist's office isn't very realistic. And that's what I fell in love with. I just wanted to see Jacques cleaning little Nemo and Gil come across. And those guys were awesome, right? I'm like, that's pretty cool. But those fish cannot really live harmoniously together, is what I found out. And so I really wanted a puffer fish, and that's really kind of the thing. And I wasn't going to put them in my reef tank. So I decided to do a new tank really around getting that fish. So that's what this is. It's been set up here for, I think it arrived in April and I started setting it up in May. And we've got a whole series on YouTube following every step of the way. It comes out on Saturdays. Be sure and tune in. And this is where I'm at today with setting it up. So
you said you have 3 fish in there, Jimmy. What 3 fish?
I had to set up this. What 3 fish? I have 2 maroon clowns, who I had no idea that they're aggressive little suckers.
I told you that.
Well, you did tell me, but they like, I should show you guys, because let's see if he does it. Here, get my scraper. If I start scraping here, he's not going to do it. But the maroon clowns. Of course,
he's stage fright.
He's over here. That's why. Oh, here he comes. He's coming. They attack this thing. They will attack.
Wait until you put your hand in the tank.
I'm not putting my hand in there.
Exactly. And people are worried about the panther grouper eating it.
Yeah, and he's hiding right there. And I've got a panther grouper, which, man, he's the coolest fish ever. But he is an eater, and he's messy. Here he comes. He sees me wiggling my finger. He wants to bite it and eat it. So, yeah, it's one of those things. And anybody who watches what I'm doing, I'm very much a newbie in this. So I have mentors like the 2 of you and Ken that help me out, and I appreciate it. But I think a lot of people that I've seen that are tuning in and leaving comments, they're a lot like me, where they're just kind of finding their way in this hobby. And that's what's so cool about this community, and that what we're doing here is you can go on our Instagram or YouTube or whatever, leave comments, and there's forums out there. I'm on some Facebook groups, and everybody is just rooting for each other to have success with their tank, because we share this same passion. And I found that I'm have some of my newest best friends ever in my lifetime because of this hobby. So it's very, very cool. But yeah, what else can I say about the tank? I mean, it's been really awesome. I had some experience setting up another one, so I kind of knew the steps. And then actually I've been going back and watching our videos, Mark, that we made on the first tank, because I was like, what do I do here? Because I only ever set up one other tank before, and you pretty much told me what to do. So some of it was kind of flying over my head. So that's the other cool thing, is that, you know, that experience lives on forever, because I've been documenting it. Same with this one, doing it on YouTube. It's been a really fun thing. So I'm very grateful to all 3 of you for helping me with this, because it's a dream come true. And you guys watching, you know that. I mean, what a cool thing to have in your house, right? Really, really fun.
100%.
Yeah, you're ahead of me. I only have 1 tank for now.
I actually have.
No.
I have my.
No. No, that's right. Freshwater tank doesn't count, Jimmy.
No, it totally counts. Yeah, it does.
No. Okay. So, this is even better to you, Jimmy. You have 3 tanks, 2 of which are saltwater. You have the freshwater tank. This means you have 3 different tanks to set up. The freshwater tank needs different things than the 2 saltwater, and then the 2 saltwaters have a different way of running them then each their own way of running them. So we'll do a little roundtable question here. I want to start with the boss on this one. We're thinking about Jimmy's shoes. You're someone in Jimmy's shoes. You've got 3 tanks. How are you going to set up these tanks to make it easy to maintain so you have success? So what advice can we give to Jimmy for maintaining 3 tanks and making his life easier?
So a couple things. Before you buy 3 tanks, I would put a little thought into the equipment you're going to buy for your first, usually smaller tank, and to buy equipment that you can use on your next tank. For example, if you're going to buy a salinity checker, right? So instead of spending 15, 20 bucks on the cheap Chinese refractometer, you put the drops up and hold it up, spend a couple bucks more on the Hano one, where it's just a pen where you just dip it in the water. And then when you get that next tank, it's something that you can bring along your journey through multiple tanks. Because usually the way it works when a customer gets a small tank and they're successful, they upgrade and get a larger tank. And usually that second tank isn't large enough, so they end up with a third, is what I'm seeing through. Jimmy, your mic's still on. So for me, I would consider when you buy equipment, look long-term down the road or potentially long-term down the road when you're making that purchase decision. Also, for me, auto top-off is a huge thing. I couldn't imagine having an aquarium where you would dump water in it every day. So some basic automation like an auto top-off is something I would consider.
Jimmy,
Yeah,
you're
that's good
distracted
advice,
by
Ken.
your fish tank, Jimmy.
No, he made me think about this thing, so I had to go check my salinity because I hadn't looked at it. It looks great, but yeah, that's the device, man. This is the best tester because I don't have to use reagents, and it gives me the readout right away.
What about a salinity probe in your tank, Jimmy, that gives you a reading without you having to do anything? Because I know you're like anti-test guy. I'm gonna get you a T-shirt made. Let's say we'll get Greg to make you a T-shirt that says anti-test, and that'll be you. Like it could be.
You should be proud of him, Mark. He's actually actively testing his tank.
We have it documented. It did happen at least once. This is groundbreaking television right here. We're capturing history.
Yeah. Well, I found out this.
I mean,
he just picks on me, dude.
He's like, I'm just going to stop. For anyone who's just tuned in, you're like, why are we laughing and picking on Jimmy? It's because Jimmy is like anti-test. Whenever I ask him, he's like, I'm having this issue in my tank. I'm like, okay, what's your nitrate and phosphate value? And he's like, do what? And so he's like, so I'm giving him a hard time.
Here's the problem for newbies. Dude, that's just a whole bunch of numbers that just means nothing when you don't know what the heck you're talking about. So even when you test, you're like, what the heck? But after 3 years, and I got a new tester today, and I asked because I saw this on the website when I ordered it up, I got this. It's just a business card, right? Oh, but no. Look at the back. It's got all the test parameters right on it.
Okay.
It's mirrored. And now I can see what the heck these things mean, what I'm supposed to have in my tank. Because sometimes I just get those testers and I don't even really know. But the other thing that I did do is
Jimmy, can you show that again? I changed the mirror.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now you can see it the correct way. So this is a cool little card that, hey, when you're ordering from SaltwaterAquarium.com, these are free. Just search. What do you search, Ken, for this?
It's a freebie, right?
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. So how do they get? I just came across it on the website somehow, and I'm like, oh, put that in my cart. This is what a great thing to have because I always parameter B, and this is a good little quick reference.
Hey, Jimmy. Do you write down your results every time?
Oh, so what I do, because I have the Coral View Hydros automation on both my tanks, in my Hydros app, static inputs. So what the input means static is I have to manually enter the values, but I can set up values in my Hydros app for my alkalinity, for pretty much everything. So I went ahead and set up static inputs, and I log everything in here, and it'll graph it for me in here. So if anybody has Hydros and didn't know you could do that, because it's not one of those things that's really out there advertised, you can make an input that doesn't have any device connected to it. That's just a static input. And there you can, do all those test values and save them right in your app. So that's how I save them. I would show it to you, but it's a little bit embarrassing because I don't test super often.
Boom!
So much.
The man admitted it on the internet. It's there forever. Done. There it is.
How are you going to record your values moving forward, Jimmy?
2 data points, or your lines like this.
Okay, let's talk about that. So you have to test, right? So I've got these HANA checkers, right? These things are awesome. You just open it up, and they all kind of work the same. You put your little sample water. You guys, the experts who are watching, they already know this. But you get a little sample water, put it in the cuvee. Then you have some type of reagent, whatever, so that you know what you're testing for, right? And you put that in there, and you follow the directions, and you get your results. And then I put those into my Hydros. Here's the problem that I've had. I got some weird results this week. I was like, what the heck? So I ran my test again. And I got the same result. And when I put the value in my Hydros, I couldn't even set the value that high because I don't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was, Mark, that I called you for? Which one was like too high? It was like 13. My value was like 14 or something. I'm going to look for it in my app. My alkalinity.
Oh, your alkalinity. Right? Yeah.
My alkalinity came out to be like 14. And I think the highest my Hydros would let me put it in was 12. So I'm like, what the heck's going on? And so Mark's like, 14? It's not 14. I'm like, dude, I did the test twice. And then he goes, well, how old's your reagent? And I'm like, I don't know. So I looked, and that one's a little liquid bottle, and it expired in 2023. He's like, oh, well, it's expired. I'm like, oh, no problem. I have another one. Mark. Here's my alkalinity. I'll just open that up. But then I read the box. Oh, dang, this one's expired in 24. So needless to say, that was a little bit of a bummer why I was not getting correct values. And here's the thing about testing. You're right. I'm not great about it. I look at my tank every single day. You feed your fish, you clean, whatever, and everything just looked like it's healthy. So I wasn't, chasing any numbers. I don't have a lot of advanced corals in there or anything like that. So some of these things expired, and then I was completely aware of it. And then I was like, and then I had some other testers. I won't show you which ones they were, but they were really complicated where you got to put them on a card and line up and go, oh, is this the same yellow? And I didn't like it at all. So I was ordering a new tester, and then Ken called me up and he's like, Jimmy, is this the tester you ordered? And I'm like, yeah, I need reagents for these 4 HANAs. And then I want to get the HANA because I know how to use those and those are easy. He's like, yeah, don't do that. So look what I got, dude. Hopefully this will be better. This just came, Ken. FedEx, like right before we went live. What? Hopefully.
Yeah, that was not planned.
Yeah, this actually just came because I don't know what my alkalinity is in here. So now that I have the correct reagent, when we're done here, I'm going to test. But what's cool about this, I watched a few YouTube videos, one that you made, Mark, and this newest version has an app, and it connects with Bluetooth. So it'll go right to the app and it'll save these values, and you can have multiple tanks. So and to the app and Google gadgets. I love that stuff. I'm a gadget guy. So when I see it go into my app and then I can look at it, I'm not writing anything down, Hilary. That's too hard. I'm like, I don't. Then I got to go look for it in my desk drawer, and then I got Post-its everywhere. No, it's all going into an app now, yeah. So I'm actually excited about testing. Mark, what do you think?
Can you say that again? You're breaking up, Jimmy. What did you say? Something about being excited for testing? What?
I am actually excited to do it. This thing looks super cool, and I know how to use it.
I mean, that's a perfect testament to what I would give you, anyone who has a saltwater tank, even a freshwater tank. Find what works for you, but also if maintenance is hard to do, you're less likely to do it. And then it doesn't get done. And eventually it's going to catch up with you. Your tank's not going to look good. You're going to wonder why. Then you may go test. You find out your reagents are expired. Then you're kind of chasing the tail of something that you have no history on how it was doing. So whether that's testing or doing a weekly or every other week water change, cleaning your skimmer, find what works for you. But if it's hard, if you have to get way behind something to reach something, like, no, you're not going to do it. Maintenance is going to fall off, and eventually your tank's going to suffer. Same with faulty gear. You don't have to have an unlimited budget, but I found out the hard way when I started, because I had $0 when I started back into the saltwater aquarium hobby. I was at home watching our son, who was a newborn, while the wife worked 7 days a week. I was buying cheap gear. It would kind of work, but not really. And then I spent all this time trying to fix it, or then I'd find the next piece of gear that was a little better, but not really that great. And then I'd end up selling that. In the long run, I spent way more money versus just getting quality gear the first time. And I'm not saying quality doesn't have to be the most expensive, because it is the most expensive doesn't make it better, but you certainly got a better shot at better gear if it comes with better support, it's better quality gear. So find what works for you in terms of maintenance. If it's gadgets like Jimmy, if it's riding down like Hilary, I don't care what it is, but find what works for you. Spend a little bit of money on better gear, and then get in your routine, and then just do it religiously. Let it go. Find out what your tank likes, and it will thank you. For example, this tank behind me is 1,000 gallons. The most time I spend on it every week is either cleaning the skimmer or wiping down the 28 feet of glass. That's where I spend the most time. I spend 1 day a week where I do all my water tests manually just to check my automatic testing, but there's not a lot of work in here because I set things up right the first time and just let it go. So Hilary does that on a kind of a next level at a public aquarium. So, Hilary, let's hear from the marine biologist. You're talking to Jimmy, or anyone like Jimmy who has first or multiple saltwater tanks. What advice do you have him to have long-term success?
You know, I really actually like Ken's idea of finding something that you can use for multiple tanks. The Hannah checker is a perfect example. So we have a brand new coral exhibit at the aquarium that I work at. And while we have the fancy automated controllers with the probes that automatically test, on a regular basis, when I go in, I'm still using my little Hannah checkers to test for things like phosphate. And it's good because I can use it on each of the different tanks, and it works perfectly. And I think that's a great thing that can be applied even to our tanks at home. And the same goes for things like filtration. I know a lot of people still don't use filter socks. They've transitioned to the roller mats and stuff like that. But if you are using things like filter socks, having multiples of them that you can use on all of your different systems kind of makes things easier and takes out a little bit of the guesswork for you.
Yeah, that's great advice. I appreciate that. It's so true. I was thinking, it made me, when you guys are both saying, Mark, you said, find things that work for you. And that's the other piece. You have done so many tanks because you have clients that do them. One thing that stuck out in my head right away when you said about cleaning, when I set up this tank, I actually pulled it away from the wall just a little bit further because my other one was too close to the wall and I can only reach my hand to there. And if I got to reach the cord that goes for my lights, or I like to clean the back glass of my tank. I know you make fun of me for that, but that's just one tip that I learned doing a second tank. Can you guys think of any other little just things that may seem obvious but aren't obvious that would help folks out who are
Here, I got one today. I got one today.
Maybe.
So we got a customer service call
Let's hear
earlier.
it.
Customer is really mad at us because their tank is delayed. On the same order, they bought a fish tank and a coral. Now, this has happened multiple times. This isn't just one time. Like, this is probably the 4th or 5th time this year. Customers are buying the aquarium and the live animals on the same order. How do I prevent that? Like, what can I do?
Ooh.
There's got to be you're a programmer, Ken. Totally put in some kind of logic where it's like, you're buying fish when you buy the tank. Do you really want to do this? Check yes. Are you sure you really want to do this? Check yes. No, God, like that. Even back in the day when I started, like back then we had to cycle the tank over the course of weeks. But I mean, there's one thing I can tell people about setting up a saltwater tank. It's going to take longer than you think. It's probably going to spend a little bit more money than you think. Give yourself time to not rush it. Set up the tank, look at things, pull some tap water in it, make sure its fittings aren't leaking, get used to things. Take your time. You've got the rest of the tank's life to enjoy it. If you start it out right, don't rush things. You're very likely to have more long-term success. We'll be happy to ship you fish whenever you're ready, corals as well. Get the tank going. Plan on it being delayed because freight companies or FedEx, they're always delayed. I've had freight companies who are like, hey, I know you paid for residential delivery, but we're not going to deliver it. Come pick it up. Thanks. Bye. Then you got to scramble. If you don't have a truck, you go get a U-Haul and go find it. Get some people to help you move it in. Space those things out. You don't even have to set the tank up. Read the manual like Jimmy does occasionally. Give yourself that time. You're going to thank yourself.
I think we forget sometimes though, because like even Jimmy, because you've been around this, I think because we've been doing this for so long that like we know how to do it. It seems very obvious to us, but somebody that say maybe watches one of our videos is like, oh, cool, I want to have that fish. And then they order it, but they don't know everything right away and are still learning the ropes. So yeah, maybe we could put something on the website when you buy fish. Is your tank up and running? Has it been up and running for like at least 30 days or something like that? Because then they still sell things like Hello Reef kits. Have either of you guys done those? Like, what is the timeline for that? Because it includes fish too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you have to send them your water and then they check it and then they will deem that it's ready to send you fish and coral. But yeah, like you want to have success.
I don't think it works that way, Mark. I think now they just throw in a prepaid Visa and you spend it whenever, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's a great kit. The way they set up the walkthrough from day one, step 1, 2, 3 videos the whole way. No one in the industry has ever done a beginner saltwater kit as good as Aperture has done with that product. That product's fantastic, but there's still things like that. They don't provide the fish, the animals, the testing. They basically give you a prepaid Visa and say, go spend it.
And I haven't had one of those kits. A little bit about it because since I started up in Minnesota, is like he was like, yeah, I'm watching it on my lunch hour. I love it. And I'm like, well, what? But you don't have a tank, or what, why do you watch it? He goes, well, I think I want to get one now. And so I started looking into that Hello Reef, and I watched some of the videos. I mean, that thing is step by step by step. So I don't think people aren't going to make the mistake if they start with something that was that thought out. They're not going to go get, people still will. But what a great idea. What a cool kit. I definitely want to check that out. I think I might send my brother-in-law one of those because he's thinking about entering the hobby, and it sounds like a great way to start.
I almost set one of those kits up at my local public library and I tried to do like lessons on how to take care of a tank and starting up a tank and beginning, and time-wise, it didn't quite work out, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I just put the link here, so if you scan the QR code with your phone or something, it goes there so you guys can check out exactly what we're talking about. It's the 15-gallon beginner Hello Reef kit by Aperture.
Oh, that's cool.
And you know something too, like speaking of small tanks, if you go to any of the shows and you see any of those little nano tanks, are you scanning it, Jimmy?
I am scanning it. Sorry. I'm like, it's not
I
working,
love
Ken.
that.
It's because I'm on video. I'm on video on my camera. There it is.
Jimmy's gonna get a fourth tank while we're on the stream. We're
Yep.
gonna have the document.
Yes.
It just showed up. I didn't know I ordered it. Next thing I know, I've got another fish tank.
Oh,
Darn.
that's hilarious.
Jimmy Four tanks.
Jimmy.
No, it's from my brother-in-law, dude.
Yeah, that's
It's
what they
from
all say. This is for the kids. I got the tank for the kids, honey. It's not for me. But which is
Oh my
fine. Hey,
dad.
look, nothing wrong with that. You get all the tanks you have. We got plenty of gear. We can set you up, whatever that is, to make your tank life easier. Which one of the things that I found, back when the day, they didn't have it when I first started in aquariums. They had it when I got back into the hobby about 2008-ish, was a controller, which is a hotly contested topic. Every time we talk about controllers, people are like, you don't need those. I'm like, you're right. You don't. You can run a saltwater tank without them. You don't have to have it. It is a luxury item, which can make your life a heck of a lot easier. Jimmy, since you're the man of the hour with this tank, this is your new tank is a fish only tank. So we don't have to worry about dosing calcium, magnesium, alkalinity, any of those things. And here's a hint, Jimmy, by the way, you don't need to test alkalinity in that tank. So one less thing for you to do. Why don't you talk about automation you have on your fish only tank, and then I'll talk about it on a reef tank, and we'll go from there.
Oh yeah, so my reef tank I didn't have any of that stuff, right? I just started, and then the very first, I just had filter socks, nothing else. So then I put a skimmer in there, and then I think the first automation I did was just Hydros X2 starter kit, and that was so that I could do like an auto top off on there, I think, and I could do. It had a couple sense probes where I could do temperature and a few things. But since I started putting automation on that tank, this tank, it was a thought before I started. Like, okay, what things do I want? Because there's some things that I wish I would have done on my reef tank, and the way I purchase things, because I started at the very bottom with the smallest entry, and then this one I'm like, no, I want to have all of that stuff on this because again, I said I was a gadget guy, but I love it, and I love that I can set alerts for things that are out of range, like my temperature, salinity, and pH probes on it, leak detection on here. Which actually I found out it works, and that's because I put my RODI line right in here to my RODI reservoir, and I went and watched TV in the next room, and I left it on, and then I know you can laugh at me, so I left it in there, and you know where this goes. It overflowed because I set an alarm, but when it went off, I came and looked at it, and it still had a few gallons to go. So I sat back down and forgot about it. So then it overflowed onto the floor. The leak detector went off, and it made noise. And I ran in here. It just took one little towel to clean it up. It's no big deal. But no, the automation, I would definitely. One of these underneath the line there, because it's the easiest thing to do. But I put this underneath it, so if it spills over, it's going to go into here. And then you guys probably can't see it. Let me till done. But I have a leak detector inside of it right here. So if it spills, it's going to alarm. So the automation, I dig it. Plus, it's fun. It's a fun little thing to show your friends when you're there. Just all the cool stuff it does. Yeah, you don't need all that stuff, but I really, really like it. I mean, everything on this tank is on an app. This is a Red Sea tank, so I've got the Red Sea wave makers, the Red Sea skimmer, the roller mat, and all of those come on the Red Sea app and their own controllers. Computer, turn on Fowler sump lights. So
Even I don't have that, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's
Some next
awesome.
level stuff there, Jimmy.
I even have my shades over here to keep this room darker. This is all on a motor too. Computer, open shades. What?
What?
Yeah, I have that on the schedule because I don't want all that sunlight blasting in on the tank and computer. Close shades. Yeah, the sun gets over here in the middle of the day and it comes on here, and that's just going to grow algae. No, so I dig all this automation stuff. My whole house is automated, so why not have my tank automated? And it's the same thing you said, Mark. What things work for you that make it easier? And that's what I was getting at with, about having the tank farther from the wall. It's easier for me to get back there. It's something I learned. One that I just learned recently, not to totally get off automation, but if I ever vacuum the sand, I had this little vacuum that I use for my 75-gallon fresh and siphoning into a 5-gallon bucket. It took me forever. And then I got a big one, and now I clean my tank in like 5 minutes. It's like, oh, just a piece of equipment that I didn't realize I could just get a bigger one and be way faster. So it's little things that you learn. But the automation, I would, anybody that wants to jump into it, I would try to think ahead, because if you're interested in it, you're going to love it. I know that, if you find it interesting, and the hydros, it's super easy to use, especially if you're a young person who's growing up with these things, because it doesn't take any programming or anything. You just go, oh, here's a new input. What is it? It's a temperature thing. And you just follow the little wizards, and it's super easy to set up. It's a great piece of equipment. And I only know about the hydros and the Red Sea Reef Beat because it's the only thing that I have. But no, I would put it on every tank for sure. I love it.
And when you talk about automation, for those of you watching, certainly I recommend controllers. Again, you don't have to have them. I have them on all my tanks, all my clients' tanks. There's other simple things that you can automate that will make your life easier. The first one that we often overlook because it's just so secondary is your lights turning on and off, or if you have LEDs ramping on and off, up and down. We used to do that with the old light timers. We're probably all of us on the stream are old enough to remember like pulling out the little light thing and then like turning it and the power would go out and you have to reset it. That's basic automation. Something that also makes your life really easy. Auto top off. Simple automation. You can plug it into a controller. A lot of the controller solutions have auto top offs. They can be a standalone. The alternative is every day pouring fresh water, filtered fresh water into your saltwater tank. Sounds crazy, but a lot of people make this mistake. They put salt water into their saltwater tank to replace water that's been evaporated off. The salt doesn't go anywhere, so you have to put in fresh water, filtered fresh water into your saltwater tank to keep that salinity right. You can do it every day. That's one way to do it. But for a lot of us that have smaller tanks, it doesn't take much for the water level in the tank to get below the return pump, especially if you have a sump. Then your return pump's going to run dry, like bubbles in your tank. The whole tank can go down. So a simple auto top off. We have lots of solutions out here at SaltwaterAquarium.com. All you need is a water reservoir. Put your filtered fresh water in, and then the auto top off unit. When the water level gets below the lower sensor, we'll pump water out of the reservoir into your saltwater tank, replacing that evaporated fresh water. Super simple, keeps your salinity stable. One less thing for you to do, which means you get more time just sitting there looking at and enjoying a tank. Certainly start with that, get your feet wet with it. If you're thinking you want a controller, you get auto top off that integrates into a controller. Some of those act standalone. You don't even need the controller until the future. You can add them in if you want to. Do that. Now, in Jimmy's Predator tank, he doesn't have to worry about testing. He has a salinity probe in there, which is great to make sure that something doesn't go wrong and your saltwater tank becomes a freshwater tank. Like putting your RODI line straight into your tank. Don't do that for a top off. Horrible idea. There's plenty of people like, I've never had a problem. I'm like, I know, but if you do, the whole thing can go south very quickly. Has it happened to you, Hilary?
One of my second places that I worked at a fish store, I was in charge of taking care of all of the fish. I had it all set up. The RO top off was directly into the sump. And I left for a long weekend. And when they changed the filter sock, the edge of the filter sock was in the way. And so it messed up the valve. And by the time I got back on Monday, my saltwater system was completely turned over to freshwater. Probably most devastating day I've ever had at work. Coming into almost all of my fish dead is awful. Don't do that.
No, it's just not worth it. There's lots of auto top off systems that are easy, not that expensive. It will put a big safety catch in your saltwater tank. That's if you want to go from saltwater to freshwater, you don't want to do it that way. That's not the way to do it. And then look, if you want to build from there with a controller, I wanted all my clients' tanks, my tank as well. There's some give and take here. Yes, you're adding some complexity by adding a controller. It's tech. At some point, something will likely go wrong. I've never had one like catch on fire, but I certainly had programming get messed up on them. Very little over the how many controllers I have out there, but start slow, get your feet wet, then start giving it more access to your tank. Well, I'm not going to put the return pump on it first until I get used to it. Then as you get used to it, you trust it more, you know how it works, you can put more things on it. But it can do lots of things in the background of your tank. The first thing that I tell people is it is a first responder for your aquarium. You have things like Jimmy talked about with the leak detection. If you have water leaking around your tank, hopefully not because your tank is leaking, but if
Austin,
you overfill something, it can catch that and give you an alert. So if you're watching hockey like Jimmy does, you're on the couch, you're not paying attention, you're out to dinner. Hopefully you're not out of town, but even if you are, you can let your tank buddy know and say, hey, go do something about it versus coming in and going, oh, well, this is a major problem. And I just walked into the door. It can be very simple, but it will make your life easier. It can catch things before you can even notice it and help keep your tank running by being that first responder for your tank. Then you can start to build an automation, things like testing and dosing, turning pumps on and off, ramping pumps up and down. These all the pumps that we have now, the DC ones, they have that capability. Same with LEDs. Why not do that? Use the tech that's there, use the capabilities of that so your tank is more stable. You have to do less with it. Again, I have 1,000-gallon tank behind me. I spend maybe 30 minutes a week on it. Most of that time is spent scraping the glass or cleaning the protein skimmer because everything else is automated. It runs in the background. I can leave town. I was just out of town last week for 4 days. When I'm concerned about the tank, I can check in on it. It's watching things and will send me an alert when I can't check in on it. And it's just running things in the background. Look, if you want to check in on, you're like, oh, that's a little off. You can turn things on and off or say, hey, call your tank buddy, go over there and do this. You can tell them what's wrong versus there's this plug that's got this little like thing on it. It looks a little different. Meanwhile, they're like trying not to crash your tank because people who aren't aquarists think that if they touch anything on your tank, this whole thing is going to come crashing down. You can give them very specific instructions, lowers their stress level, lowers your stress level, and make you more successful.
yeah, I totally agree with all that. Like I said, Hilary told the story about the RO water. I had one it happened on my freshwater tank, but solved the problem when I got a saltwater tank where my heater stuck on. And then on my new saltwater, on my reef tank, I got a controller for just the heaters. This one was called an Inkbird, and it's just the outlets plugged into a little control device. And then that way, with the temperature probes in the sump, if it did like my freshwater did that time and stuck on, it would cut the power and turn the power off. So I learned the hard way on that thing. That I woke up one morning and saw a dozen fish floating in my freshwater tank. And as I approached it, I went to lift the hood on the canopy, and as I lifted it, I could feel the heat. Oh, no. And I even put my hand on the front of the glass, and the glass was hot. The thing had been stuck on for quite some time and brought the temperature up and just killed like everything in my tank. And it's just because the heater failed. And so I still have the Inkbird on my reef tank, and then I did a different where I'm using Hydros now to monitor my heaters. If the heat the temperature gets out of range, it alerts me, and it also will cut the power if it gets stuck on. So these are things that with those kind of tools that are safety things, especially like you and I, Mark, who travel for work a lot. When you're not home, it's a good way to keep an eye on things. So yeah, I wouldn't have done this tank without all of that stuff, because it's such a peace of mind for me, that my wife's not going to have to try to figure things out, or even FaceTime with me. And I even put camera down in here so I can look at it. I've got a pan and tilt camera in my sump. But yeah. Do you have one of those, Mark?
No, I
Why
have no
not?
cameras. I was going to say, Jimmy, you're like super aquarium nerd here. I'm like, I can, but see, I'm like, I could put it in. I'm not real trusting of like these cameras that push out the data to like, the cloud. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I could put a camera in my fish room and have it plugged into my hydros that when I leave, then I turn on the outlet so it gets power. The rest of the time when I'm not there, or if, and I am there, like I can turn it on or off so it's not constantly streaming. I'm like, oh, I'm going to leave town. All right, let's turn on the camera. I can watch it. My son actually is feeding like I asked him to. I can see him come in and do that. But the rest of the time, it's off and I can do all that off my phone or my computer. So, yeah,
See,
Jimmy, I'm going to go do it, man. But I'm going to take it as a step above, man.
You just taught. I didn't even think of that. Mine's not plugged into my hydros, and I've got some outlets left on my launch, so I'm definitely going to do that now. I'm going to take.
I have some outlets left on my launch.
Why didn't I
fill
think
them
of
up
that?
with stuff? Okay, so talking of automation and controllers, I quarantine every fish that comes into this tank. My quarantine setup, which is right below me in my fish room, it has automation on it as well. What automation? Well, one, the circulation pumps. The bigger thing, like Jimmy talked about, is the heaters. Heaters getting stuck on or failing and getting the tank get too cold. Very common. I would argue that it's the most common failure, equipment failure in the saltwater aquarium hobby, even freshwater hobby as well. So I put a layer of redundancy on there where the hydros monitors the temperature in my quarantine tanks and will turn things on and off and send me alerts if something goes wrong. Jimmy has one quarantine tank. I have four. But Hilary, you work in a public aquarium. They have some of the most stringent quarantining protocols out there. Let's take this from public aquarium to myself, which I maintain my tank. I maintain client tanks as well. And we'll talk to Jimmy briefly about his quarantine protocols. Give us a rundown of if you're buying a new fish or a new fish comes into your public aquarium where you work, what do you have to do before it gets out in a display tank and on exhibit?
Oh, this is a good one. And I'm going to expand it even. It's not just fish, but like every single invertebrate that we get, our corals that come in get quarantine, and even things, every like single snail and hermit crab and shrimp, all of them go through quarantine. So we have a dedicated space for quarantine. It varies a little bit from facility to facility, but ours is an AVA accredited. So the hoops that we have to jump through are a bit more. To even enter the room, you have to go through a foot bath that makes sure everything is sterile. You have to wash your hands, and you have a different pair of gloves that you're wearing. And each tank, so in our quarantine system, there are 6 different systems. I think they are up to 750 gallons each. Each system has its own set of tools. Every time you are putting your hands in the system, you have to have different new sets of gloves on. Washing those tools, everything gets sterilized in a sterilization dip and then a freshwater dip. And the animals, depending on the species, typically have a 14 to a 30-day holding period where we sit and observe them. And then depending on the species, so we have veterinarians on staff, and they give us medications to treat the whole system because we're dealing on a much bigger scale. If we put a fish that it looks fine, but it's actually sick into one of our display systems, we can't really get that out very easily.
Nope.
And you run the risk of wiping out your whole display system. So nobody wants that. So depending on the issues that they have, they are treated with different medications. And then once the course of their medications goes through, there's another, I think it's a 14-day observation period that they have to go through. And at the end of that, the aquarists work with a team of vets, and we will go through tank by tank. The vets and the lead senior biologist will look at each and every single fish to make sure that there's nothing going on it. They'll do some random gill scrapes and fin scrapes to see and make sure there's no parasites. And then once those all get looked at under the microscope, the fish get approval or get denied to go into the main system. So there's quite a lot that goes into every single animal that we put into our display. And on the big scale, and this is something that I don't think is really talked about for our home aquariums, but it's still a serious issue, is zoonotic diseases. So that's anything that can be transferred from the fish or the animals in our tanks to humans. And there's not a lot of them, but they do exist. And the big one is mycobacterium, which is really, really very scary. It might not seem like anything at all. It can get in through even like the smallest cut on your finger if it's in your water. And then over the course of months cause all sorts of issues in your tissues. It just basically like eats away at your tissues. It's really gross. I won't get into it, but that's one of the reasons why if you've got cuts or anything on your hands before you put them in your tank, wear a pair of gloves.
Yep. I have an insert tank that I maintain, which means you got to scrub them. I scraped my hand over this last spring, and infection wasn't going away. And I ended up going to a dermatologist. He looked at it. He didn't think it was myco. We swabbed it. It turned out not to be, but that is certainly something that we were concerned about and on the radar. So wear gloves. If you're not wearing gloves, wash your hands before. You can even just wash or even rinsing your hands in tap water. You don't have to use soap.
Yep.
Before you put them in the tank isn't a bad idea. As soon as you get your hands out, use the soap and water, and that will help knock off bacteria as well. Yeah, there are things that you can get. You definitely don't want myco. Luckily, I didn't have it. I was able to dodge that bullet. With that, Jimmy, I want to hear about this new predator tank because you've got new fish coming in. The reef tank's stocked up. You've got fish coming into this predator tank. Tell us about how you're quarantining those fish in that tank.
So I've got a 20-gallon just aquarium that I set up just for quarantine, and I don't leave it set up all the time. I just set it up when I know that I'm going to get fish. So I'll set it up in my laundry room, or sometimes I'll do it in the spare bedroom upstairs. And it's just a off the back filter, a little heater. I think I heard you call it before a breeder tank or something. It's just a really simple little tank. And what are you laughing at?
I'm just sitting here going, like, I'm waiting for Jimmy to go, computer, set up quarantine tank. And then like, it's like water, salt, light. And the next thing you know, it's like, your tank is ready, Mr. Jimmy.
So I actually have a Hydros Wi-Fi power strip that's got outlets on it, and I do put everything in it, and I set it up with one of my other tanks, and I just name it QT lights, QT filter, at least so I know that they're on or off, or I can schedule the light on it. So I've done that. So yeah, it is a little bit automated. It is a little bit automated. It's not super simple.
Which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm impressed by your undersump lights. Like I should do that. So I'm like, why doesn't he have his quarantine tank set up like computer?
So dude, you know how much I love the Hydros. They just came out with a new product called the Start, and it has 4 outlets on it and 4 sense probes. And right away I went, oh, I could put a temperature, because I don't have a temperature sensor that tells me I have to go physically look at it for the temperature on my quarantine right now. And I don't have any backup safety if the heater were to get on. So I'm like, I think I might want to put one of those on my quarantine tank. And then I went, oh, I could also automate my water station with my RODI unit and in there. So I'm like, I could get 2 of those and like set up my fish room as the ultimate quarantine water station automated. So that may be in the future, but yeah, again with the automation. But no, I quarantine everything. And another thing that I do, and I just do it because you taught me it, but maybe you want to speak to it a little bit. You taught me to prophylactically treat my fish in quarantine. So I do copper. I do copper on all of my fish, and basically what that is I'm giving them a medicine when they come in to fight off what if they were to have common fish diseases that are the ones that wreak havoc on tanks. So you taught me that, but if you want to share in detail what that is with people, I don't know if it's appropriate right here, but I quarantine everything.
So for those of you that are watching, the first disclaimer say there's a whole bunch to know about quarantining fish. It's not necessarily hard, but don't take what we're going to say now and say, oh, I got it all, and then immediately go quarantine things or prophylactically treat fish. So we'll give you a quick rundown. Certainly do your research and get very versed in it. Again, it's not difficult, but you want to know what you're getting into and you want to know what you're watching for. So as Jimmy referenced, I recommended to him that he does. Proud reefer parent now at this moment, knowing that he does it. I do it for my tank. I do it for all my clients' tanks is I prophylactically treat fish, which is saying we're going to put these fish through a safe and proven medication regime in hopes of knocking off any diseases that they may or may not have. The big diseases that I'm concerned about are marine velvet and marine ick. Oh, there's other ones out there, but those are the big ones that I'm concerned about. I went through a marine velvet outbreak on one of my old tanks. It was miserable. I did a whole show on it like 15 years ago. If you want to go find it, you can find it and watch it. It was not a fun thing. Watching fish that I had a clownfish that I'd raised from very small. It was about 4 inches. It got marine velvet and it died. So, but those are the two big diseases that I'm concerned about, marine velvet and marine ick. So what I do is I get the fish in. Again, this is a quick rundown. So do your research, watch shows on it. Don't just take this and think that you're ready to roll with it. I get the fish in. I get them into the quarantine tank. I get them eating. Once they're eating, they're used to my food. I say, okay, now I'm going to start your medication. I use Seachem's cupramine product. You get the cupramine and you get Seachem's copper test kit. You need both because the test kit is specific to the type of medication. Don't get just any copper one. Get the Seachem copper test kit that goes along with their copper product, cupramine. I slowly ramp up this medication. I do half of their recommended first dose. Then the next day I test. I'm very likely not going to see any copper in the test kit. That's fine. Putting it in, watching the fish. Are they eating? They seem comfortable? Yes. And the next day I do another half dose. I'm ramping it up into the part where to the concentration that they recommend. Read the instructions, it's all on the bottle. Then these fish go through 14 days of the treatment at the recommended concentration. Again, I'm watching them. Quarantining is a contact sport. You got to be watching the fish. Don't touch the fish, but watch them. Are they eating? Are they acting normal? Are they not breathing a lot? Are they sitting there hiding all the time? Okay, that's a sign of maybe something isn't right. Certainly, if they stop eating, that can be concerned. If you see the disease on them, certainly that's something you want to watch. So again, it's a contact sport. Like if I'm going out of town, I don't have any fish in quarantine. Don't get a fish in quarantine and be like, you know what, I'm going to go kick off for a week. I want to go to Hawaii and do some scuba diving or snorkeling. I'll worry about the fish when they get back. They're just on vacation. You want to be watching them, observing them, and adjusting. Once they're done with the 14 days of the medication, then I will put them into a client's tank. Sometimes there's extra days after that. I'm waiting until I see the client again, or if the fish isn't quite right. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull the copper out because you've done your medication time, but I just want to give you some extra time. Sometimes fish are shy. They're not eating as aggressively as I want. They're not gaining weight the way that I want. So I'll hold them out, leave them in quarantine until I feel like they're really comfortable and then they're ready to go in the tank. I tell people it's like going on a trip to a foreign country. You get off the plane, you're tired, you're probably jet lagged, and you're hungry. They throw you in the middle of, let's say, downtown Tokyo, where there's millions and millions of people. There's this language that you probably don't understand. You're hungry, you're tired, you don't know how to communicate with everyone. There's people running all around. These are all the other fish that are already in your tank if you pitch the fish in your tank without being quarantined. So you're stressed out because you just gotten moved. Now you're in this foreign place with all these fish running around, and you don't know anyone. but maybe even fish going after you because you're the new kid in town. And then they throw food in the tank, and it's not food that you've ever seen before. So you're stressed out, you're probably jet lagged, you're hungry, but you've never seen food like this. It's not a good recipe right off the bat. When quarantining fish, I'm removing the risk of medication, and I'm getting them used to my food, letting them recover in a nice, safe, controlled environment. And then once they're ready to go, then they go into the tank, and it gives them a nice way to transition. The final step in the transition out of quarantine is a hidey ho box, also known as an acclimation box. I will put the fish in it. It's basically an acrylic box that sits in the tank. It lets the fish in your tank look at the fish that's in the acclimation box, and the fish that's in the acclimation box looks at everything in your tank. They get a chance to look at each other. If there's any aggression, you can catch that. And then you're like, you know what? This one fish is beating up on this fish that's about to go in the tank. I'm not going to put it in here. I'm going to remove the fish. It's very easy to do it. Like Hilary said, you put a fish in the display, it's hard to get him out of there, especially like a small fish. They go into the rocks. You're never going to get those fish out of there without tearing your tank apart. So we're putting more balls in your court to give it as much success as possible. I've left fish in the acclimation box for 5 days because it wanted to beat up another fish that was out in the tank, and the fish that was in the tank wanted to beat it up. And I said, okay, I'm just going to wait this thing out. The acclimation box was plenty big for the fish. After 5 days, they settled down, and they've been getting along fine ever since. So that's how I quarantine things. Jimmy, we talked about he's quarantining stuff. With that, we've done a lot of talking for the last hour. Thanks to everyone who's been here. Any last notes from any of y'all before we flip over to the questions that you all have been generously giving us in the chat?
No, I just want to say a couple things about the fish and corals that we sell. So I recommend even buying it from us, and we say it's quarantined because we do quarantine as much as possible, that you need to quarantine everything at home. 100% everything. Yes, we try to source from the best possible source. We try to source from captive bred. We try to hold fish or corals that we don't think will do well in shipping or in your house, but we don't know everything, right? So we recommend 100% quarantining all fish and corals, even when you buy it from SaltwaterAquarium.com.
Yep. And even if you're not quarantining them, as I alluded to, get them in a quarantine tank, put them in a holding tank, an actual tank with a heater and a filtration and a light and a lid, and let them ease into your house. They don't have to go straight into your tank with all the other fish that have been there that are used to the neighborhood. The new fish can come in, it can get used to you. It can start eating the foods that you feed it might not have seen before in a low-key environment. It's basically a nice posh hotel room as opposed to getting thrown out on the streets and saying, have at it. Nothing else, at least do that for your fish and give them that Great Lake 4.
I would take Ken's advice even a step further. Quarantine everything. Even if you are getting fish or corals from a friend whose tank you've known and seen for a while, still quarantine. Always quarantine.
Absolutely.
Whenever I come home from a trip, my wife quarantines me.
I don't think we need to discuss that quarantine protocol.
How does that work, dude? How does that work?
Do you get locked in your room?
Oh, we got
You
guest
got
room.
guest room.
No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna lock you in this room with your aquarium for 3 days. You're like, oh, thank you, awesome. Can you bring me food too?
First question's up at the bottom of the screen.
Hey, there's a question.
Can you guys read it?
See, I'm getting older like Jimmy.
Yeah.
How can I dose with an auto top-off pH or kalkwasser?
Ah, okay. So the question is, can you dose elements in your tank with an auto top off? So you can. I don't recommend it, and here's why. When you're dosing something into your tank, the idea is to put a known amount of that substance in so that you can raise the parameter you're dosing for at a set rate and get to a certain level. So say, for example, your alkalinity is 8.0 and you want to get it to 9.0. Well, we have a calculator on the website where you can say, I'm dosing soda ash. Here's my tank volume. Here's where I am at 8.0. I want to get to 9.0. How much do I need to dose? And the calculator does the math for you. And it'll tell you, let's say you need to dose 100 mils to get from 8.0 to 9.0. Well, when you put on a dosing pump, you can tell it how much exactly you want to dose. And you can say, I'm going to go slow. I'm going to dose that 100 mils over 4 days. So every day you say dose 25 mils. It's done very controllably and very predictably. When you do an auto top off values can change. In the summer, they usually go down. In the winter, they usually go up because we're running our heaters in our house, unless you live in Florida like Jimmy does, who doesn't even have a heater. I'm jealous. Moisture levels in your house go down, evaporation goes up, so you're topping off more. You probably don't even notice this. Your auto top off is just running, but if you keep topping off or you keep dosing through your top off into the summer, then all of a sudden your top off level change. You're not dosing as much. Your levels can get on a whack, and you might not know why until you go, oh yeah, because I'm in the auto top off. So if you're dosing, you want to make it controllable and you want to make it predictable. So do it with a pump. That way you know exactly how much you're putting in. You can spread out the dosing if you want, versus an auto top off, which is done automatically in the background. You don't know necessarily how much it's topping off or at the rate. You could overshoot, you could undershoot. Just get a dosing pump. It's way easier if you have a larger saltwater tank. I say 250 gallons or up, get a calcium reactor and just make everything super simple. Great question. I know that one comes up a lot with calc. Same answer with Kalkwasser. Get a calcster or calc reactor, make it all predictable and make it controllable.
Okay, next question. How high should your T5 light be on top of your 75-gallon tank from the ceiling?
Wow. Okay. How high should your T5 be above the tank? Usually about 12 inches. 4 feet.
4 feet.
What are you doing? Trying to get in the tank, Jimmy? What are you talking about, man? You'll have so much light spillage and your power will be so low. 12 inches is good. Just make sure you have a cover on them. You don't want something to splash, like Jimmy's pufferfish will splash water onto everything, including him. See, Hilary's nodding. So 12 inches is a good working number.
Catfish also do that.
Yeah, if you're at 18 inches, 24, that's okay. I didn't want to be down around 6. The other piece of that is you want to get in your tank if you're feeding or whatever. You don't have much room to do it. So 12 inches, good working number.
Oh, when I said 4 feet, I meant for the T7, or maybe that was the T8.
Oh, yeah. So you don't remember VHO, super VHOs, Jimmy. If you remember the T12 super VHOs, you know what I'm talking about. Hit a like, comment below so I know who the cool kids are. Hilary, did you ever have one of those?
No.
Hilary's a no. Okay, so Jimmy.
All right, next question. Would it not make sense to use 3 or 4 smaller heaters so that if one heater fails, the others can keep the tank going, and if one heater stays on, it will not have the energy to overheat the water too high?
This is a great question. There's some amount of this when it gets too complicated. So I recommend doing 2 heaters for that reason. You got 2 smaller heaters. If one stays on, it's less likely to overheat the tank. And then if that one fails, then the smaller one can at least maintain or keep you close to temperature. You get into 3 and the 4, that's a lot of plugs, a lot more things to go wrong. 2 is a good working number on that one. Jimmy, how many heaters do you have on your tanks? Oh, Jimmy, 2.
I have
Jimmy, 2
2
tanks.
heaters.
Jimmy, 2 heaters.
And exactly that. Yeah. 2 heaters on the tanks.
Oh, great question. All right, Ken, serve us up another one.
Okay, next. Can you put fish coral in a new tank with dry rock, but using established aquarium water from a friend's tank? So using established water, but using brand new dry rock.
Hilary, you want to fire off on that one?
I'm going to say no. If it's a brand new tank and you're just pulling over the water is not going to have the bacteria. Most bacteria that we need, that we are looking for a healthy biome in our tank, are in the rockwork and in the substrate, and they're not going to be in the water column. So if you want to borrow something from your friend's tank, I would recommend having your live or your dry rock go and maybe sit in their sump or sit in their tank for a week and then pull it over. But I wouldn't use their water. But good question.
Okay, so let me add to that, Hilary, because you're right. Hilary nailed it. I'm going to add a caveat. First, 100%. Most of the bacteria that you want, especially with a new tank, the nitrogen bacteria is terrestrial. That means it sticks to stuff. It's on the glass, it's on the rocks, it's on the corals. It's in a sponge filter if you have that. It's not so much floating around in the water column. So if you just bring the water over, you're going to get some, but you're not going to get a lot. Now, the other piece of this is if you're taking rock or sponge filters or gravels out of someone else's tank and putting it in yours, there's no opportunity to quarantine it. So if they have any diseases in the tank, it's likely going to put it in your tank. So you can do that. I personally don't do that because I don't trust anyone else around here as much as I do myself. And it's very easy and effective just to put nitrifying bacteria from a bottle in tank, which then all it is nitrifying bacteria. There's no fish disease in there. There's no parasites. It's just nitrifying bacteria. Therefore, I can try to eliminate any of those diseases getting in. So you can, if you want to borrow something from someone else's tank, one way to do it is get a sponge filter, put it in their sump for a week or so. If you want to bring some live rock or some gravel, do that versus water. Just keep in mind you're going to be running the risk of any diseases or parasites or whatever coming in from their tank and getting into yours. So it's a give and take there, but just don't do it with water. If you want to do it, you need something where that bacteria can grab onto.
Okay, here's the next question. Have you ever heard of George Farmer, freshwater aquascaper? He talks a lot about the healing aspects of the hobby and his journey with PTSD. Any thoughts?
So
Yes.
I'll let Hilary answer that since you know the guy. I think it's a great story. So fire away.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to let you start because I haven't heard the story, but I gave a presentation that talked a little bit about mental health and the benefits of aquariums. So I'll let you tell the story and then I'll hop back in.
So I actually don't know the guy. I have not heard the story. I mean, we can guess what it's about. But yes, there's even in the saltwater side of things, Jay, who works at Sichet, he was involved in some conflicts in the Middle East, and he will tell it. We did a whole show. We talked to him. He will say it flat out that his aquarium saved his life, gave him something else to think about, helped him deal with his PTSD. So yeah, there's therapeutic reasons. You come home at the end of the day, you're stressed. You want to look at your tank. I do that a lot. There's that therapeutic side. There's also reasons that can help you if you're dealing with other things. This can give you comfort and solace. Again, we did a show with Jay from Sichet about that. Check that out. Don't know George. Would love to hear his story, so I'll go check that out. And certainly, if I see him in a trade show, George, if you're watching, say hi so we can interview you. We'd love to hear more about it. Many benefits to an aquarium, fresh or salt.
100%. So,
okay, next question. What do you guys think about the ATI Stratons, the LED panels and the strip lights, the new ones?
Jimmy, you were there when we interviewed him. What do you think?
Are those the, was that a German
yeah,
company?
but they're the Stratons were the panel lights.
That
Well, then
long,
they came out with the
thing?
new, the alternate version. Yep, which was a longer. It's not a strip light, but yes,
Oh man,
different version.
well, the one that I saw looked super cool. So I was like, man, that looks like spaceship type thing instead of these big blocks like I have up here. Are we talking about the
Yes.
same thing, Mark? That one that we saw? Oh man, it was pretty expensive though. It was like one of the more expensive lights I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're asking more about what it does, the functionality and stuff in it. But I thought it was like the coolest looking new light out there with it long and flat and looked lightweight. And I'm like, that's what I want. But you know, you can talk about it technically.
Talk about hair housing.
Come on, dude. That's relevant stuff. I mean, the aesthetic of what it looks like up there. I thought that was a cool looking light. You know what I'm saying? But I know there's a lot more to choosing a light than that. But I was like, that thing looks awesome. But that's also why it costs more. It's the same reason that sports car, Ferraris, you know, they cost a lot of money. They look really cool too, but they also function good. You can talk about the function. I like the beauty of it. It's a cool instrument, man. I would love to have
it's
those lights.
Unique approach to a light. I'd love to get my hands on one, test one out, do a review. What do you think? Should we review it? Let us know. Tell us yes or no in the comments. Check it out. For what I've seen at the trade shows, it looks very promising. Don't have any at the moment hands-on experience with it. Great question, though.
Okay, next question. What is a good UV on a canister filter?
Everyone's stumped. I believe, doesn't Sichet make one with a built-in, or Eheim makes one with built-in UV, don't they?
Well, there's a couple
Eheim
different companies, right? So Fluval has one, Eheim and Sichet. All three have good options Fluval seems to be selling the best from what I've seen, but the Seache product has a 5-year warranty, replacement bulbs available everywhere. So I would take a look at the Seache UVC if you're looking for a UV for a canister filter or some type of setup like that. I believe it's inline probably. I don't think you can just like attach it to the filter. They all run inline, but my main question with running it like that is you
Can you
need
put the
to
QR code
regulate
up?
the flow to a certain degree for it to work, right, Mark? How's that work?
Yeah, UV is all about contact time. It has to do with how much wattage and then how much contact time there is with organisms in the around the UV. So if it just goes blowing by the UV, it doesn't do anything. It's similar to like you running outside for 2 seconds and running back in on a bright sunny day in the summer. Like you're not going to get sunburn. Like you've got very, very minimal sun exposure. So if you have more watts, then the flow rate can be a little quicker. But a lot of those UVs are lower watts, so you need slower flow rates so there's more exposure time. Again, going back to this getting suntan, if you want to get tan, you're probably going to stand there for an hour in the sun because you need that exposure time. Same thing with UV. You got to be careful about the flow rates. The manufacturers can give you recommended flow rates. A lot of them have things just kind of built in, so it's dummy proof. If you're adding that standalone UV to your tank, you don't want to crank water through that thing because it's likely not going to be effective, especially in the lower wattages that a lot of these add-on UVs have. Hilary, I mean, you guys got to have some big UVs at the aquarium. You got anything like super huge on systems?
Oh yeah, they're monster, probably like foot in diameter.
Yeah,
We
now we're
so
talking.
yeah, the new coral system that we have, it's got all of the bells and whistles. Like it is beautiful. Like they added everything. I was like, we don't need all of that right away in the beginning. Like, but we have it if we need it. I'm like, okay, there you go.
Absolutely. You don't have to turn it on. It can be useful if you have an algae issue or fish disease outbreak. It can help with that. It's not going to cure it, but it can help you get ahead of those things. One approach is to have it on your tank. Now, disclaimer here, the UV bulb goes through a quartz sleeve. You have to keep that quartz sleeve clean. So there is some maintenance. You can't like leave it on your tank for a year and then when they turn it on and think that it's going to
Yeah.
work. So there's some maintenance to these things. But I have it on my tank. I have 350 watts on this tank behind me. I put them on clients' tanks. Again, it's on a controller to turn it on and off. If we need it, we can increase the time. We need to back off the time. It's even set up so that if the tank gets too hot, it turns off the UV in case the heat from the UV bulb, because it is a high wattage light bulb, is heating up the tank. Ooh, big question.
All right, next question. Calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity all have a pretty wide range. Is there any benefit running any of these on the higher side or just keeping them consistent in the middle of the range in a mixed reef, SPS, or LPS tank?
I'm not going to hog the stream. Hilary, you want to fire away with that one?
I will give my 2 cents. I think it really just depends on your reef. I know people that keep them on the higher end and their corals are great, but I also know people that have them in the middle range. My best recommendation is to watch your tank and see what your corals like. If you want to adjust it a little bit higher or lower, don't do that immediately. Don't do it fast. Like crank it up a little bit more. And I know too, some of the different salt brands that are out there have some of those in higher ratios than others. So that's something too to consider when you're purchasing salt, getting some of those higher values if that's what you need in your tank.
I think calcium, alkalinity, certainly back up. Calcium and magnesium, there's a wide range of that on the card that we talked about at the beginning of the stream, where we give a range. All this is a range. So if your calcium, they say the recommended value is usually around 440 parts per million. That's accepted, recommended for calcium. Something that people get bent out of shape in, especially the calcium and magnesium, is like if your calcium's 400, your tank's not going to come crashing down. At Jimmy's tank, he's got a fish only tank. Fish could care less about calcium. They don't care. If your calcium's at 500, your tank's not going to have a problem. Like I have a client's tank that just naturally runs calcium around 525. Everything in the tank is happy. So same with magnesium. You got a wide range there. I love what Hilary said, which is watch the tank. If the tank tells you it's happy, it's okay. You don't have to get an exact value for those parameters. Now, me personally, I don't like to run high alkalinity. My tanks seem to be happy between 7.5 and 8.5. I've never had success keeping it very high, like 12 or 14. That's just my personal feedback. I know people that do. I'm more concerned about an alkalinity value than a calcium and magnesium value, but I also am more concerned about a swing on alkalinity than I am calcium, magnesium. But it all goes back to what your tank likes. If your tank is happy at 10 DKH in alkalinity, great. Keep it there, let it roll, give it what it wants, and it will reward you. If it's happier or lower, that's fine too. The key thing here is to test, write down your values so you can go back and go, well, here the tank was doing well. Here's where my values. If I'm not there, maybe I should go back to that because that worked. Because one thing that is important with any tank is find out what it works. You don't have to hit the ideal box. Don't try to take your tank and go, here's ideal. If I'm not this, it's not good. Your tank may be way out of that ideal in terms of parameters and everything's happy. Roll with it. Like Hilary said, your tank will tell you what it likes. Give it that. Learn to listen, give it that, and just roll with it. There you go, Jimmy. You don't have to test alkalinity. You don't have to test calcium. You don't have to test magnesium in your Fowler tank. I'm concerned about salinity, temperature, nitrates, phosphates. That's it.
So here's a really good point from the rep from Hanna Instruments. He says you should try to target the middle of the range. That will give you some wiggle room for the range of error built into any test kit.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with hitting that. I just see too many hobbyists get bent out of shape really quickly. And I went through it too. It's like, oh, my calcium's 400. What do I do? And people are like, dose. And I'm like dumping in a bunch of stuff. And they're like, oh, it's 500 of calcium. You need to do a water change. And I go run and do a water change. Like, no, it's fine. Middle of the road is great. You get that leeway. But if things aren't in this ideal, you don't have to freak out about it. Your tank's very likely going to be fine. If you make a change, make the change slowly.
Yep.
Great question. All right, Ken, let's fire off one more.
Yeah, so here's one more. Building on that, what about the nitrates and phosphates, right? So we're talking about the core three, calcium, alkalinity, magnesium. What about the algae growers, as I call them?
Okay, so I'm curious. Hilary, I'm going to ask you a pop question here.
Oh, boy.
Pick on one of the display tanks, not a reef tank. Well, even we'll do a reef tank. One of the displays of the public aquariums, what are the nitrate levels, phosphates in that tank? Let's say the shark tank, if you have one there.
Oh gosh, I'm going to give you the numbers on the reef tank just because those are the only numbers I do. Everything else is automated by a totally separate team. So on the reef tank, our nitrates are, I think it was 3 for the nitrates, and the phosphates were like 0.001.
I'm impressed. Usually at public aquariums, it's like off the charts.
Well, you've seen pictures of the tank. I know I've sent you pictures of the tank, so you know what the tank looks like. And those are my numbers.
And this is also the tank that Hilary maintains, so there's not surprising that it looks great and the parameters are great. Okay, so what about nitrates and phosphates? There's a wide range here. With a predator tank, I'm not going to be surprised if nitrates are 25, 50, sometimes even 100. The fish don't care. Like getting over 100, even getting over 75, okay, do a water change. You need to figure out what's driving those high numbers. And maybe that you're feeding too much, and maybe that your protein skimmer isn't working that well. You need to add some filtration, but it's not like the tank is going to melt down. Now, phosphates, again, on a predator tank, I'm not as concerned about it. Like you said, I am concerned about the algae. That's going to potentially grow the algae in that predator tank because you're very likely not going to have snails and other things, crabs that can eat up that algae because the predators in that predator tank would eat them. I'm going to find what works for that tank. I've run tanks that had nitrates 30, phosphates 1.0, and they don't have any algae in them at all. If that's working for your tank, great. Run with that. If you're running a reef tank, here's where the debate really comes in. Do we go low phosphates and nitrates like we used to back in the day? Do we go higher? I just tested my tank this morning. For those of you wondering, nitrates in here are 20, phosphates were 0.08. I don't have an algae problem in this tank. This tank is happy at those levels. I keep nitrates somewhere between 10 and 20, phosphates 0.08 to 1.5-ish, somewhere in there. The tank seems to be happy there. That's just what I give it. Even in a predator tank, if something is on a whack, I'm not immediately going to do a large water change. Maybe do a series of water changes. If you are going to do a large water change, make sure the temperature and the salinity is matched so we don't shock the fish that are in there. It's all finding out what the tank works, what works for you. If you're just starting out, find out where your tank is riding at normally, write that down, test and write it down and go, this is working. I'm going to try to maintain this. You can do that very easily with less food, more food, better filtration, all those easy things to manipulate in your tank to keep it looking great.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
Well, actually,
Fire away.
I have a question for you. So, Charles Delbeck, who is at the Steinhardt, gorgeous, gorgeous tank. If you guys haven't seen it, look up a photo of it. He's done multiple presentations talking about how his phosphates are through the roof. But you see the tank, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And he talks about how, and I don't remember the ratio, but there's a ratio of phosphate and nitrate. And if you can get that dialed in, you can have really, really high values and still have a great functional tank.
Right.
Could you speak to that ratio? Do you know exactly what that is?
Yeah, so he's very likely, I bet he's speaking about the Redfield ratio. I don't know what it is off the top of my head because, shocker, I don't follow it. The idea is that you should have your phosphates and your nitrates in a certain ratio because things are happier there and you can have more success. I don't have a problem with trying to, having some data behind that. It works for him, great. If you are in that ratio range, fantastic. Like, keep it up. Where I see people get out of shape is they're like, if I don't have this ratio, then the tank's about to have a problem. Everything is going to go bad. I need to then try to like tweak things to get in the ratios. And they're always like chasing this number, running their tank up and down on a roller coaster. So if you can hit the ratio, great. If you're not in the ratio, you want to make some small changes to try to get there, that's fine. But mostly I don't try to hit that number. I don't even know what it is off the top of my head. I got proof of the pudding there. But if it works for him, great. Maybe it works for you. This is the thing about this hobby is there's thousands of ways to do things. How Hilary runs a tank is different than how Jimmy runs it, how Ken runs a tank there at lobby at saltwateraquarium.com. The key is to find out what works for you and just give it more of that.
Yeah.
Great questions. Jimmy, you've been quiet for a while. Why don't you say something, buddy?
Hi, Mark.
Always got to give me. Oh, all right.
Because you're
Jimmy.
talking about like testing your water and your nitrates and phosphates and.
Dude, did your head explode? Because you're like testing. You keep hearing testing. Jimmy's like, I gotta get off the screen, man.
Me in a few weeks, I'm going to be the testing master. Now that I have the Hannah Master. I'm
okay.
learning, dude.
I'll check in with you in a month and we'll see what kind of values you have to report to us on the live stream, Jimmy. Hey, I love that you have it. Certainly use the thing. Teach me something about it. You should do a show on the Hannah Master Tester and showing how it integrates with your app. We would love to see that, Jimmy. Hint, hint.
Oh, yeah, you're going to for sure. Because I got to figure out what's going on here with that brown stuff on the crusty bottom. So, yeah.
You want to show us with the white lights?
Yeah, you don't want to see that.
Yeah, we do. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Okay.
Jimmy.
Let me open my Reef Beat app.
Ooh.
I like that we're going to get to see this, Jimmy. I feel like we always see the pretty tanks, but everybody skips reefing realities.
Yeah, that's the reality.
It doesn't look pretty. Sometimes it happens.
No, it's not looking so good.
That was pretty quick, Jimmy. I'm impressed. Change it back.
Turn that off.
Yeah.
It's the Reef Beat app. It's awesome.
That's awesome. All right.
Right. That's my camera setting. So it's a one-button camera setting. So when I'm going to do video, put white light in there. You can set those lights to whatever the heck you want. And then you got all these presets, but I've got a quick button for camera setting.
I love it.
Cool.
All right, everyone.
It's very cool.
We've been rolling for an hour and a half. Thanks, everyone who's been with us the whole time. If you're just joining in, you can go back and watch the recording. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. Do you want to see us do more live streams like this? Let us know in the comments below. We'll go back and read them even after the stream. Appreciate you all being here. Special shout out to Hilary, who had some work done on her foot. So she's not fully capable. She made the effort to show up and be on the stream with us. Thanks, Hilary. I hope you're healing up. Everyone send well wishes to Hilary. Look forward to seeing you out there on the Washington coast again, filming some cool stuff once you can get back out there. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your week and weekend as well. We'll catch you next time.